Good day, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I want to talk about some of the major factors that I'm looking out for to understand if we're in a bull market still, if we're on the verge of entering a bear market. I want to share with you guys some of the key things I'm looking out for to try and understand what state of the market we're currently in and what it would take for us to look more bullish and bearish. So folks, I'm going to distill for you guys some of the most important factors we need to be aware of. So if you like the sound of that, I want to ask you to do me that favor: like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. There's going to be lots of critical information happening in this video. Right now, Bitcoin is fully leading the market. We had a crash, quite a substantial crash, which brought down pretty much the rest of the altcoin market. Bitcoin crashed 54%, slightly different depending on what exchange you looked at. Quite a substantial drop. A lot of people are quite scared. A lot of people are panic selling. A lot of people do not know what's going on with the state of the market. So I want to begin sharing some of the major factors that I'm looking out for, trying to understand what's going on with this bull market. Firstly, we want to understand why Bitcoin crashed in the first place. Yes, there was a lot of FUD, but Bitcoin was looking weak for quite a long time. For weeks at this point, I've been sharing on the channel how this white line, the 50 simple daily moving average, was one of the most critical support levels for Bitcoin. Twice this cycle, we pumped, we dumped, we held that level as support. Pump, dump, we held it as support. It was continually the floor up until recently. As soon as we broke below it, went back up to retest it, got rejected. That was the beginning of our downtrend. And even if we look back in 2017, it was a very relevant level as well. This white line here held the support, here. As soon as we broke below it, went back up to retest it, that was the beginning of the bear market. So Bitcoin is looking very concerning. We are constantly falling through major support levels, support level after support level. Bitcoin has been falling through all of them. Typically speaking, in bull runs, we see corrections between 30 and 40%. Over 50% correction is out of the ordinary. So there are many things to be concerned about with Bitcoin, but it is not all doom and gloom. I want to share with you guys a few of the factors that I'm looking out for that does tell us and paint a picture for us that there may be a relief rally incoming with Bitcoin. Now, a few more things to explain here. Understanding the daily RSI is critical for understanding one of the reasons why Bitcoin corrected. So if we look here at the daily RSI for Bitcoin, we can see that every peak in price action, every local peak, coincided with a lower high in RSI. That's classic textbook bearish divergence. Whenever we see this higher highs in price action paired with lower highs in RSI, it's telling us the uptrend is running out of momentum and running out of strength. And eventually, the RSI just kept falling. We broke through major support, and then once Bitcoin was weak, there was a bunch of FUD all at once, and it drove the price way down. So what do we need to look out for right now to understand what's happening next with Bitcoin? Is the bull run over? Are we entering a bear market? Well, I want to share with you guys some of my thoughts and opinions and wisdom, but I also want to share with you guys some tangible factors we need to look out for to understand whether it's more likely that we're still in a bull market or if it's more likely that we're entering a bear market. And there are tangible things that we need to look out for, not just feelings and intuitions. And look, just to briefly share my feelings and intuitions, I do not think this was the end of the bull run. I don't know if this was the bottom, but what I am more confident of is that we haven't reached the top, because the fundamentals for Bitcoin and crypto have never looked better. This year is the year where crypto, blockchain, smart contracts, decentralized applications have had their greatest use case, the peak of demand at the point of the least supply. The recipe for the long-term future of Bitcoin and crypto have never looked better. It's just the technicals that look bad. The same great fundamentals that brought Bitcoin to 65,000 were the same fundamentals that existed at 35,000. The only thing that changed that we're quite overextended, we fell below support, and there was a bunch of FUD all at once. Now, a few things to understand. We never just go down in a straight line. Bitcoin was forming this ascending channel, and we broke out bullishly. We're seeing some signs of some bullish trend reversal. Again, even if we look back at 2017, folks, it wasn't a straight line down. We had a move down, relief rally, move down, relief rally, move down, relief rally, move down, relief rally. We never just go down in a straight line forever. So if we zoom into the near term, what have we seen here? We've had a move down, relief rally, a move down, and what are we seeing here? the first signs of bullish divergence, and I believe that Bitcoin may in the near future have a relief rally here. Now, some of the major factors that we need to look out for here is wait for this to load. So there's plenty of stuff that we need to consider here. One of the major things that we need to consider is Bitcoin needs to get above this 200 daily exponential moving average for us to remain bullish. We can see here that we had 2 days where we reacted off this level as support, and then 2 days where we reacted off this level as resistance once we broke through. So the market is telling us that that 200 daily exponential moving average is a critical level that is currently just below 42,000. So for Bitcoin to start looking strong, we need to break above 42,000 and hold it as support. So if we do something like this, where we break up, go back down and retest it, hold it as support, that's a very good sign. What we want to see, if we want to be confident that Bitcoin could recover, is bullish confirmation and confirmation of this bullish trend reversal. What we want to see is break above resistance, fall back down to retest it, and solidify it as support. If we do that, then we could break out further and fall back down and retest resistance and hold that as support. So another thing that we need to look out for to understand whether or not Bitcoin is ready to recover, we need to get above that 200 daily exponential moving average. If we can get above, fall back down, retest it, and hold that, then we can retest this red trend line based off all-time highs, and we just extend it based off this wick. That's another resistance trend line. So if we can flip these two major resistance levels from resistance into support, at that point we would have several times bullish confirmation and confirmation of the bullish trend reversal, and in that case the correction may be over and Bitcoin may be ready to take off. So instead of talking about feelings and intuitions, which is what a lot of people are talking about, no, what we need to see is confirmation, whether bullish confirmation or bearish confirmation. One critical thing that I'm going to get very worried about if Bitcoin does is make a new lower low below $30,000. Folks, if we want to know whether we're in a bull market, if we're still in a bull market or in a bear market, we need further confirmation of the trend. And if we make a lower low below 30,000, that's confirmation of the bearish trend. Again, if we look back at 2017 here, what did we see? Macro lower lows consistently serving as further confirmation of the bearish trend. So that's what we don't want to see this time around. If we do indeed break below 30,000 again and make a new lower low, that would serve as confirmation of the bear trend and make it more likely that the bull market is ending. But if we can have a relief rally, break through major resistance, fall back down, retest it, hold it as support, then that would serve as confirmation of bullish divergence. So instead of talking about feelings and intuitions, what we need to understand here and what we need to follow to understand whether Bitcoin's bullish bearish is further confirmation, whether bullish or bearish confirmation, whatever kind of confirmation we get in the coming days and weeks, that will tell us what direction Bitcoin is very likely to move next. Also, I want to share with you guys one of the major factors that I'm looking out for not only understanding when Bitcoin's ready to be over with correcting and ready to explode, is this daily RSI. So if we zoom out here in price action here, again, we can see that each high in price action correlated with a lower high on the RSI here. So we've been respecting this resistance on the RSI this entire cycle's parabolic move up. So if Bitcoin goes on to kind of consolidate within this region, maybe move sideways, maybe break above a resistance level, maybe come back down, we can get rejected all the live long day. But as long as we keep making higher lows, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see lower lows. There's endless resistance above Bitcoin right now. We could draw a million resistance trend lines. All right, so we can get rejected as long as we like, but as long as we keep bringing in these higher lows, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see lower lows. We want to see higher lows if we want Bitcoin to be bullish. So if we keep moving sideways within the next couple days, next couple weeks, and this moment we see bullish divergence from this resistance trend line on the daily RSI, that is when Bitcoin is ready to recover and start making moves to the upside. Because again, folks, we have held and respected this trend line as resistance throughout this entire cycle, this entire bull cycle. So as soon as we see bullish divergence from this thing, that's our cue that Bitcoin is done correcting and ready to recover again. So again, we want confirmation, understand if Bitcoin's still bullish. So if Bitcoin gets above this red trend line, falls back down, retests it as support, then in that case, Bitcoin is ready to start making new all-time highs. If Bitcoin can get above this red trend line and hold it as support, then that's our cue, and that Bitcoin is ready to recover and ready to start making new all-time highs. So, folks, wait to see if we can flip that 200 exponential moving average on the daily and this red trend line and see bullish divergence on this RSI. If we can do those three things, then Bitcoin could make new all-time highs and we may have bottomed out. Now, a few other major things that we need to be aware of is the nature of cycles. Bitcoin moves in cycles, everything moves in cycles, and we need to understand that typically things go up in a parabola, they crash, things consolidate for a while, and then the cycle repeats, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And what's happening right now is I think the institutions in the legacy markets, the legacy rich people are waking up and realizing that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is the next major asset class. Just like the stock market, the Forex market, the commodities market, the options market, we're all once created and we're all once a new thing. Cryptocurrency is the next asset class on that list. It's the asset class with the most growth potential. And so I think now that the institutions are waking up to this, they felt like they missed the pump. And so they had to coordinate a FUD campaign to buy Bitcoin at these levels. But that's not just conspiracy. I want to share with you guys a few factors that I'm looking out for that leads me to believe that retail and weak hands are panic selling and whales and strong hands are buying this dip. So few things to understand here. When Bitcoin broke below that 50 simple moving average on that daily, that white line, we also had a bunch of FUD stories all at once. Elon Musk tweeting negative energy news stories about Bitcoin. There was Tether FUD. There was FUD about China ban. And for those who don't know, FUD stands for fear of dump. There was there was any Bitcoins used for crime, so is regular cash. There was regulatory FUD. There was endless kinds of negative news stories all at once when Bitcoin was at its weakest point, almost like there was a coordinated effort. And now we're hearing news stories of how these financial institutions basically pay these different news organizations to pump out a bunch of negative news story as soon as Bitcoin looks weak, causing the crash and allowing the whales to buy back at cheaper prices. And folks, people are selling this dip. We can see here that this, for the first time in Bitcoin's history, we've seen the largest realized loss. People are selling their bags, their Bitcoin, their crypto at a loss. Here on very recently, we had $14.2 billion of Bitcoin sold at a loss, far greater than any dip we've had it in Bitcoin's history. People are selling at a loss. Noobs are selling at a loss. And the reason why I say noobs and weak hands is because if we look at the spent output age bands here, we can see that the people selling are people who've only held Bitcoin from 1 to 6 months. That means the new people, the retail people, the people that FOMO'd in late when the bull run began. So we're seeing weak hands that got in early selling their Bitcoin. Also, what are we seeing here? We're seeing that over-the-counter transactions are increasing right at Bitcoin's lowest point. So at the point in which weak hands and retail are panic selling their Bitcoin, we see that whales are panic buying Bitcoin over the counter. Folks, it's very unfortunate, but Bitcoin is moving from weak hands to strong hands, and people are getting shaken out. The bullish case for Bitcoin and crypto have never looked better. The fundamentals have never looked better. Nothing about the fundamentals have changed. And even some of the major FUD stories with Bitcoin, with China banning miners. What's the result of China clamping down on mining? The result is Bitcoin would become more decentralized and more green. That doesn't sound like a bad news story to me. That sounds like an amazing thing. China's shooting themselves in the foot. All this FUD has always existed with Bitcoin. The fundamentals will never look stronger, and this China FUD just makes Bitcoin stronger over the long term. And retail is allowing themselves to get shaken out. And look, again, if you're losing money, I understand. People know what's best for themselves, or maybe they don't. But it's not. It's definitely not up for me to decide that. Anyways, folks, another major thing we need to look out for is the Bitcoin hash rate, because Bitcoin hash rate has been directly, historically, especially recently, correlated with price action here. We can see this steep drop in hash rate was when the power outages in China first began and the mining operations for Bitcoin first began to shut down. It correlated directly to the beginning of the sell-off with Bitcoin. As soon as we saw hash rate recover, Bitcoin recovered, hash rate dropped, price dropped. What are we seeing here in the short term? We're seeing hash rates start to recover. We're seeing whales buying the dip. We're also seeing Bitcoin starting to leave exchanges. So throughout this entire bull run from August 2020, Bitcoin has been doing nothing but leaving exchanges, which is typically bullish because the less supply on exchanges, the less selling pressure, typically the more bullish. Up until recently, ever since price started dropping, people were moving their Bitcoin onto exchanges to potentially sell, and that's exactly what we've been seeing. But what are we seeing as of recent? Bitcoin is starting to leave exchanges again, which is very, very bullish. So we're seeing Bitcoin leave exchanges, bullish. We're seeing hash rate improve, bullish. We're seeing, whales buy the dip, very bullish. And what are we seeing? We're seeing we can sell at a loss, which again, folks, typically, not always, is correlated with cycle and local bottoms. Not financial advice, folks. Just because I have an inkling and I feel like this was not the end, in fact, this might be the beginning or roughly halfway through the bull run, I could be wrong. Market doesn't care what I think. The market will do what it wants. It's fully possible that tomorrow Bitcoin drops to 20K and then 15 and then 10,000. It's totally, totally possible. I don't think that's likely. In fact, I've been putting my money where my mouth is, and I've been buying the shit out of this dip. I've been buying the dip on a lot of stuff. And again, I could be wrong. It's not financial advice. Bitcoin could fully go on a crash tomorrow. Everything I'm buying right now, I'm fully willing to hold for the next 3 to 5 years, worst case scenario. But I don't think we're seeing the worst case scenario. I think what we're seeing is weak hands getting shaken out, selling at a loss. I think what we're seeing is historical charts that have historically called cycle tops for Bitcoin give us more room to the upside. And for me, folks, just to share a bit of my personal opinion, I don't think it makes sense that at the point of greatest use case with smart contracts, DeFi, NFTs just beginning to get adopted, we're so early stages. The Americans haven't even figured out what a security is. We're so early in crypto. Countries are coming out with their own centralized cryptocurrencies. There's going to be a US dollar stablecoin that's backed by the US government. Same with China, the digital yuan. So we're seeing countries come out with their own central bank digital currencies. The Americans haven't even defined what a security is when it comes to crypto. We're so goddamn early. The use case has never been greater. The supply has never been smaller. The demand has never been greater. We end the bull run early. Just doesn't make any sense. And these cycle indicators tell us we have more room to the upside, because whenever we've entered this blue euphoria zone historically, it's correlated with cycle tops. And what have we not done? Entered that blue euphoria zone. What has this correction in fact allowed us to do? Have more sustainable growth on the other end, because we were very close to entering this blue euphoria zone where too many people are making too much money too fast and the growth is unsustainable. We had to correct. This correction was healthy, because after this correction's done, what this in fact did was that it reset all our indicators. It reset the state of the market, which means the impulse on the other end will be able to go on, will be able to go up for a lot longer if we would have topped out sooner. Folks, this was a massive, massive reset that I believe will allow the bull run to continue to grow and go on longer and more sustainably than it would have if we didn't have this dip. So again, folks, think about it this way. At the point of the greatest use case in demand, the bull run ends early just because of some Elon FUD and some China FUD that's a giant nothing burger, and some regulatory FUD that's a giant nothing burger. Another thing too, regulations are absolutely necessary for crypto to mature. Companies need regulatory clarity in order to start adopting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. All of these FUD stories are nothing burgers, and the use case has never been greater. So does it make sense to end a bull run early when the use case has never been better and the FUD is a giant nothing burger? Now, folks, I could be wrong. Markets act irrational, and the market could go on to act incorrectly or illogically longer than one can remain insolvent. There's a famous quote in the markets where markets can continue to act irrational longer than your portfolio can remain above water. So markets do act irrationally. Every reaction is an overreaction when it comes to the market, and so I don't know if the market will wake up to really what's happening and kind of see past this FUD or not. I don't know if this was the bottom, but I feel confident that this wasn't the top. So whether we go on to consolidate for weeks or months, or correct even further, it just doesn't make sense to me in my gut. It doesn't sit well with me that this was the top. And if anything, we might be in a 2013, 2014 scenario where we're at a double top, where we had a top, a pullback, and then a second top. And again, we never entered that blue euphoria zone when Bitcoin and crypto has been the strongest in its history. just doesn't make sense, folks. It's not adding up for me. And so I've personally been buying the dip. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell icon notified of new uploads, so you guys can, hear what I've been buying the dip on. But look, I just want to share with you guys some of the biggest factors that I'm looking out for, trying to understand what's happening with Bitcoin. Folks, none of this is financial advice, and ultimately the market doesn't care what I think. It doesn't care about my opinions. It's going to do what it wants. Although I do think I lean more towards us still being in a bull market, we may very well go on to crash tomorrow right after I put on this video. It's totally possible. At this point, everything I'm buying with the understanding that it's possible that we could correct. I'm operating under the worst case scenario, which I don't think is the most likely. Worst case scenario is the bull market's over, and wrap it up, boys. Come back 2024, 2025 when the next bull market is. Again, these bull markets have historically moved in 4-year cycles based off the halving. So based off the next halving, 2024, 2025 is likely to be the next bull market. So worst case scenario, we're done. We correct bull market 2024, 2025. So assuming the worst case scenario, I'm willing to hold everything I have. I'm in solid projects. Until then, I don't think the worst case scenario is indeed what's happening. We're seeing institutions in legacy markets in Wales buying this dip, not selling this dip, and the use case has never been better. So while I may end up being wrong, I'm betting that I won't be. And if I'm right big. If I'm wrong big. Folks, at the end of the day, you need to come up with your own strategy, your own investment plan, and not, buy or sell based off emotions or based off what YouTubers say. My hope in making this video is that you can use the factors that I look out for to better inform your own thought process and your own research and make you a more confident investor. Folks, if you like this video, do me that favor. Like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell icon notified of new uploads. Until next time, folks, take care.